The night in Shibuya does not begin with chaos. It begins with pressure, thick and silent. Like the air itself knows something is wrong. But this time, the boy standing at the center of it is not confused, not desperate, not learning as he goes. This Yuji Itadori walks in already complete, already sharpened, already carrying the full weight of power he once had to bleed for. And the moment the curtain drops over Shibuya, sealing civilians inside like insects in glass, he does not hesitate. He moves, fast, direct, every step calculated, because this version of Yuji has seen loss, has felt Sukuna tear through his soul, has learned what hesitation costs, and he refuses to pay it again. His cursed energy flows like a controlled storm. No waste, no panic, just precision. And when the first transfigured humans appear, twisted bodies lunging from alleyways, they do not even get time to scream. Yuji closes the distance instantly. One punch, clean, reinforced with cursed energy, so dense it collapses their forms on impact. No drawn-out fight, no shock, just execution. And he keeps moving, deeper into the chaos, because he already knows what waits ahead. He knows Mahito is here. He knows civilians are being used like puppets, and unlike before, he does not let the situation breathe. He suffocates it. Fast, efficient, brutal. When he meets Nanami, there is no need for explanation. Nanami sees it immediately. The difference, the way Yuji stands, the way his presence alone distorts the tension around them. And for the first time, Nanami does not worry about the boy. He trusts him, fully. Because this Yuji does not look like someone being dragged into hell. He looks like someone who came prepared to burn it down. And when they split to handle separate sections of the underground, Yuji does not hold back. He tears through curses like a force of nature. Each strike layered with mastery he once lacked. Black Flash is no longer luck, it is timing, intention, control. He lands it once, twice, again. Each impact warping space for a fraction of a second, each one erasing anything in front of him. And when Mahito finally appears, smiling, curious, expecting the same naive boy he once toyed with, what he gets instead is silence. Yuji does not shout, does not rage, he just steps forward. And Mahito feels it instantly. The shift, the danger. Because this is not prey anymore. This is something else. Something that understands him, something that knows exactly what he is capable of. And Yuji attacks without warning, no build-up. Just a straight punch aimed to kill. Mahito barely shifts his shape in time, his body warping, but the force still hits, sending him crashing through the subway walls. And for the first time, Mahito feels fear, real fear. Because Yuji is not reacting, he is dictating. He chases Mahito down, not giving him space to think. Every movement tight, efficient, every strike aimed to destroy the soul directly. Because this Yuji understands the shape of the soul now. He understands Mahito's trick, and that knowledge turns the fight into something unfair. Mahito tries to split, to distract, to overwhelm with transfigured humans. But Yuji cuts through them without slowing, his focus locked, his presence overwhelming. Each Black Flash landing with terrifying consistency. Mahito evolves mid-fight, pushing himself, changing forms, growing stronger, but Yuji matches him step for step. No panic, no doubt. Just pressure, constant, suffocating pressure. And when Mahito attempts to use domain expansion, Yuji does not freeze, he does not wait for help. He counters instantly, reinforcing his body and striking at the exact moment of activation, disrupting the domain before it fully forms. Something he could never do before. Something that shifts the entire fight. Mahito stumbles, shocked, and that is all Yuji needs. One clean opening, one perfectly timed Black Flash, and Mahito's form collapses, his soul destabilizing, unable to hold shape under the precision of Yuji's attacks. And in that moment, Yuji does not hesitate. He finishes it, completely. No escape, no second chance. Mahito is gone, erased before he can grow into something worse. And the ripple effect of that single outcome changes everything. Because without Mahito running free, without his chaos spreading, the balance of Shibuya shifts. Yuji moves again, no time to rest, because he knows what comes next. Jogo, Dagon, the disasters that once overwhelmed everyone. But this time the pacing is different. When Yuji arrives at Dagon's domain, he does not wait outside. He forces his way in alongside the others. His presence alone changing the fight. The endless waves of Shikigami that once trapped them now fall faster. Cleaner. Yuji carving through them with raw force and control. His strikes tearing apart the domain's pressure, giving space for the others to breathe. And when Toji appears, wild, unstoppable, Yuji does not freeze in confusion. He reads the situation instantly. He adapts, working around Toji's chaos instead of against it. And Dagon falls faster than he ever did before, the domain collapsing under combined pressure that never gives it time to stabilize. And then comes Jogo, flames erupting, heat bending the air. But Yuji does not fear him. He has felt worse. He has faced Sukuna, and compared to that, Jogo is just another obstacle. Their clash is violent, direct. Yuji closing the distance again and again despite the fire, his body reinforced to endure, his strikes landing with crushing force. Jogo retaliates with volcanic bursts, explosions ripping through the streets, but Yuji pushes through, each hit calculated, each movement refined. And when Sukuna finally takes over, triggered by the chaos and the feeding of fingers, the situation changes, but not in the same way. Because this Yuji is not as easily suppressed, his control stronger, his awareness sharper. Even as Sukuna emerges, there is resistance, there is friction. And while Sukuna still unleashes destruction, leveling parts of Shibuya with terrifying ease, the duration is shorter, the damage contained compared to before. And when Yuji regains control, he does not collapse in despair. He stands, shaken but steady, because he expected this, he planned for this, and he moves again, toward the final confrontations. toward Kenjaku, toward the truth behind everything. And when he finally faces the mastermind, he is not alone, but he is the spearhead, his presence forcing Kenjaku to take him seriously from the start. Their clash is not just physical, it is ideological. Yuji's resolve hardened by everything he has already endured. And while he cannot end everything alone, his strength changes the flow, buys time, creates openings, prevents losses that once seemed inevitable. And by the time the night begins to break, by the time the chaos starts to settle, the cost is still heavy. Shibuya is still scarred, lives are still lost, but the scale is different. The damage contained, the despair not as absolute. And at the center of it all stands Yuji Itadori, breathing hard, covered in dust and blood, but unbroken. Because this version of him did not walk into Shibuya as a victim of circumstance. He walked in as someone who understood the weight of every choice, someone who carried his power with purpose. And because of that, the story of Shibuya changes, not into a victory, but into something else. Something sharper, something that proves one thing clearly. When Yuji Itadori reaches his full potential before the world tries to crush him, he does not just survive the disaster, he reshapes it. The silence after Shibuya does not feel like relief. It feels like a pause before something worse. And Yuji Itadori stands in the middle of it with his chest still rising, eyes still sharp because he knows the truth. This was never the end. This was a test. And he passed it. But passing it only means the next stage begins faster. And around him, the survivors move carefully. Injured sorcerers, shaken civilians, fragments of a city trying to understand what just happened. But Yuji does not stay still for long. He cannot afford to, because he already feels it. The shift in the world's balance, the way cursed energy lingers heavier now, like the system itself has adapted to his presence. And somewhere out there, Kenjaku is still moving, still planning. And that thought alone keeps Yuji grounded, focused, pushing forward instead of looking back. When he meets Megumi again, there is no long reunion, just a quick exchange, a look that says everything. You made it, we keep going. And Megumi notices immediately that this Yuji is different from even a few hours ago, not just stronger, but clearer. Like every hesitation has been carved out of him, replaced with something colder, something precise. And Nobara, still recovering, still fierce despite everything, sees it too. But she does not question it, because the results speak louder than any explanation. Shibuya did not consume him, it refined him. And that alone shifts the dynamic of their entire team. Because now Yuji is not just someone they protect or guide, he is someone who leads when the moment demands it. And that becomes clear the moment reports start coming in about new cursed activity. Scattered, unpredictable like sparks from a larger fire. Yuji does not wait for orders, he moves, tracking the patterns, analyzing the flow of cursed energy across the city. And where others would see chaos, he sees structure. Because he understands now that everything happening is connected. Every outbreak, every anomaly, all part of Kenjaku's larger design. And as he intercepts one of these disturbances, a cluster of curses feeding off the lingering fear in a collapsed district, the fight ends almost instantly. Yuji's control now so refined that even multiple high-grade curses cannot pressure him. He dismantles them one by one, each movement efficient, no wasted effort. And as he stands there, he realizes something important. His strength is no longer reactive, it is proactive. He does not wait for threats to escalate, he eliminates them before they can grow. And that realization changes how he approaches everything moving forward. He begins to hunt, not recklessly, but deliberately, targeting the nodes of cursed activity, cutting them off before they spread. And this strategy starts to stabilize parts of the city faster than expected. Something even the higher-ups did not anticipate. And that draws attention, not just from allies, but from enemies, because Kenjaku notices patterns, and Yuji Itadori is becoming one, a variable that disrupts projections, a force that cannot be easily predicted. And so the response comes, not in the form of a direct confrontation, but through pressure. New players entering the field, curse users and reincarnated sorcerers beginning to move earlier than planned, drawn in by the shifting energy of the world. And when Yuji encounters one of them, a reincarnated fighter with centuries of experience and a brutal understanding of cursed techniques, the clash is immediate and intense. This is not like fighting curses. This is a battle of skill, of strategy. And for the first time since Shibuya ended, Yuji is pushed, not overwhelmed, but challenged, forced to adapt mid-fight, his opponent exploiting angles, testing his limits. And Yuji responds the only way he knows how, by learning in real time, his movements sharpening further, his timing refining, Black Flash landing not out of habit, but out of precise calculation. And the fight ends with Yuji standing, breathing harder than before, but victorious, and more importantly, improved. Because every challenge now becomes fuel, every opponent a step forward. And as these encounters increase, as more players enter the stage, Yuji begins to understand the scale of what is coming. This is not just cleanup after Shibuya, this is the beginning of something much larger. Something designed to reshape the entire world of Jujutsu. And he knows that waiting will only make it worse. So he pushes further, deeper into the network of chaos, tracking leads, following traces of cursed energy that point toward larger gatherings. And eventually, they lead him to the early stages of what will become the culling game. Barriers forming, players gathering, rules being set in motion. And Yuji does not hesitate. He enters, not as a participant forced into survival, but as a disruptor, someone who intends to break the system from within. And inside the colonies, the environment is different, harsher, more unpredictable, every encounter a potential deathmatch. But Yuji thrives in it, because this is where his mindset excels. Constant pressure, constant action, no room for doubt. He moves from fight to fight, not seeking points, but seeking control, dismantling threats, protecting weaker players when possible, and more importantly, gathering information. Because he knows that brute force alone will not end this. He needs to understand the rules, the structure, the purpose behind it all. And as he does, his presence begins to shift the balance inside the colonies. Other players start to recognize him. Some avoid him, others seek him out, drawn by the reputation forming around his name. A sorcerer who ends fights quickly, who does not play games, who cannot be easily manipulated. And this reputation becomes a weapon in itself, allowing Yuji to influence the flow of the colony without direct conflict, forcing certain players to move, to react, to reveal themselves. And through this, he begins to piece together Kenjaku's larger plan, the merging, the evolution of cursed energy. The attempt to push humanity into something new, something controlled. And the more he understands it, the more focused he becomes. Because now the goal is clear. Stop the process before it completes, no matter the cost. And when he finally crosses paths with one of Kenjaku's key allies inside the game, a fighter designed to stall, to test, to gather data, the battle that follows is unlike anything before, because this opponent is not just strong, they are strategic, forcing Yuji into situations where raw power alone is not enough. But Yuji has already moved past that stage. He adapts, reads patterns, breaks them, his fighting style evolving even further, blending instinct with analysis, and when the moment comes, when the opening appears, he takes it without hesitation, ending the fight decisively. And with that victory, he gains more than just survival. He gains momentum. Because every step forward now brings him closer to the core of the system, closer to Kenjaku. And as the days inside the culling game stretch on, as alliances form and break, as chaos becomes the norm, Yuji remains consistent, a constant force pushing against the tide. And eventually, that path leads him to the confrontation he has been moving towards since Shibuya, the moment where everything connects, where the past and present collide. And when he stands face to face with Kenjaku again, the difference from before is undeniable. Yuji is no longer reacting to the plan. He is challenging it directly, forcing Kenjaku to engage, to respond. And the battle that begins there is not just about strength, it is about will, about who can impose their vision on the world. And Yuji fights with everything he has built, every lesson, every loss, every ounce of control he has gained. His strikes carrying not just power, but purpose. And while the outcome of that battle is not simple, not clean, one thing becomes clear through the clash. Yuji Itadori is no longer a piece on the board. He is a player. And as the fight pushes both sides to their limits, as the structure of the game itself begins to strain under the pressure, the world edges closer to a breaking point. And at the center of it all stands Yuji. Not as the boy who was thrown into chaos, but as the one who now shapes it, deciding with every action what survives and what does not. And as the dust rises again, as the next phase begins to unfold, one truth remains steady. Giving Yuji Itadori his full power before Shibuya did not prevent disaster. It accelerated evolution, turning him into something the system was never designed to handle. And now everything that follows must adapt to him, or be crushed by the weight of what he has become.